Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Graesark Undercity. Our first player is going to be Handsome Sodding is back! And he's playing as the Lord Commissar, slightly tanky melee hero who also is a support hero. His first teammate is going to be ... playing as the Force Commander, tanky melee hero who can disrupt with Battlecry and buff his allied units. And finally, on the blue team, we've got Aetherion, playing as the Orc Warlock, kind of a hybrid spellcasting or tanky melee hero, depending on how you want to kit him out. Their opponents, we're going to start off with Sir Gunter the Kaiser, playing as the Eldar Farseer, a support hero with buffs and heals. Next up, we're going to have Dragonis, playing as the Chaos Plague Champion. Ranged hero to start out, can get melee weapons later on, can also support with heals and repairs. And finally, on the red team, we've got Kaze or Kaze, I don't know which really, playing as the Lord General, the only squad-based hero who is mostly a support hero. So then, we've got yet another map that I've actually never cast or played on before in my entire life. This one, I believe, made by none other than Indrid himself. We're going to see the Guardsman as well as the Lord General try to open fire on the Warlock. Warlock is going to move back. We've got definitely a ranged heavy compositions pretty all around with the triple dire Avengers, and we are just going to see them open fire, trading las shots and shuriken catapults and whatever things come out of there, and a squad of heretics will just go down under that extreme amount of ranged fire. Just going down right there. I mean, luckily for Dragonis, that was an opening squad of heretics that he did not even by himself, did not even need to reinforce, so that won't be such a huge loss. And already we're going to see the Immolator Blade come out from Aetherion. Wise choice in my opinion. I've always personally been a fan of it against especially Imperial Guard, or really anytime you're dealing with some squishy ranged units that you might need to deal with from afar. Looks like there were a lot of Guardsmen dying here, but also a Farseer being incapacitated. And already we're going to see a tier 1.5 unit come out from Sir Gunter the Kaiser relatively quickly. Seems like that happened very quickly. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure we're seeing something else here. We see some grenades. Lord General already upgraded with the grenade launchers, granting him the move ability, which will increase the speed of nearby infantry. Once he does activate that ability, again, that Lord General support unit, the most powerful things he can do is usually use one of the abilities from his war gears that will give an area of effect buff to units around him. And that move, I feel like you don't see that particularly often. I feel like both the Melta and the sniper rifle later on are more preferred. But if you've ever actually seen this particular ability in action, it's kind of funny just seeing the Lord General and Guardsmen race around so quickly. But man, these triple dire Avengers have been particularly oppressive, and it's interesting to see that considering the dire Avengers. I mean, to start out, they are no less tanky than Guardsmen, and right now they're actually slightly less tanky, except for the fact that some of them are starting to upgrade to the aspect of the Avenger. So he's doing a good job of letting the Warlock tank some of the fire. The Warlock, meanwhile, has been upgraded to the Champion's Robe, which is something that does help him tank, but there he took his tanking just a little bit too far, got really kited. We're going to see a raw grenade thrown in. Is it going to be dodged? Completely dodged, in fact. More raw grenades thrown in. Oh no, throwing grenades on your own units. Melee in retreat. Are we going to see... Oh my god. 2 of those dire Avenger squads go down. I spoke a little too soon about just how incredibly well Aetherion was doing, and he ended up losing 2 squads of dire Avengers right after upgrading them with the aspect of the Avenger. Meanwhile, up top, we're going to see a collective of more Eldar with 1 squad of dire Avengers that does not have their aspect of the Avenger. We've also got a squad of Banshees here with the aspect of Fleetness, starting to see that upgrade a little bit more frequently. Guardsmen down at bottom are going to capture the contested power node. And I want to see what other upgrades we're going to have. We are going to see the Force Commander already with some upgrades. Artificer armor, very predictable. That's definitely the most popular war gear in that slot. However, the chain sword and storm shield, on the other hand, is actually probably the least common war gear in that slot. Now, one of the things that I think is particularly interesting about this chainsword and storm shield is that it actually increases the Force Commander's health. That's a weapon rather than an armor upgrade, increasing his health. Although, I mean, if you think about what this war gear actually is, in a way it is armor because you get that storm shield. The real reason to get it is for the support ability of Defend, where your units will take less damage and even be immune to suppression. And here we're going to see that effect. So they should pretty much be winning that head-to-head ranged fight, but we do see they slow down a little bit. He deactivates defend, stops channeling it, because look at how slow it makes that force commander. It looks like it's basically something that could work very well when you need, work very well as a rather immobile ranged blob, but that decreased your mobility also does open up the option for the opponent to kite you. And here we're going to see some competing support war gears and abilities from the Lord General. Grenade launcher heretics do need to be very careful here. They are tanking range fire from the Dire Avengers. So we are going to see a very similar war gear from the Lord General, that flak jacket. That's a 30% reduction to damage compared to the 50% of the defend ability, but I believe it's all damage, whereas the defend ability from the Force Commander only did range damage. Makes them immune to knockback, whereas the Force Commander's defend ability makes them immune to suppression. Man, I just come up back here and I see a lot of dead guardsmen as well as a bunch of +3s. Contested victory point for the blue team, gonna be taken by the red team. These artillery spotters, we're doing a little bit of work, knocking some things down. He's pushing pretty far forward. I mean, I do feel that the natural power farms on this particular map, I feel are, if you're going for the opposing team's power farm, you have to push in pretty far. So on the other side, that of course does mean for your own power farm, it's relatively safe. That's well, of course, I mean the very natural power farm. So there we see the defend ability not protecting against knockback. So these competing range blobs, there's the move ability. Look just how quick those guardsmen speed on out of there. Warlock also trying to approach. So the Warlock actually canceled the Immolator Blade and instead chose to get the Champion's Robe. I mean, I guess those two warriors would kind of compete with each other because you would need to use energy to use Immolate, and then you wouldn't have as much energy for the Psychic Shields. But I kind of like the idea of the Immolator Blade, so I'm a little disappointed not to see that canceled. Warlock, or rather the Force Commander, I think he was trying to get into melee, seeing if he could tank that damage with the defend ability, because this Havoc squad was pretty low on hit points, but it is being healed up by the Nurgle Heretic Worship. Won't be able to heal to full though because it's still missing a model. And if we take a look at what's going up top, because I think I've been focusing most of my attention bottom, Guardian Weapon Team gonna get disrupted, in quite a bit of trouble now. So yeah, it definitely needs that retreat there, because since it had been knocked forward, it was just going to take a bunch of range fire from these triple guardsmen. Handsome Sodding is back, is going to round out his army with a Chimera. A wise choice given his existing army, working pretty well with the triple guardsmen. One of these guardsmen squads, I believe, is in a little bit of trouble because it did get executed, did have one of their members executed, means it won't be able to retreat for a little while. And I think he's getting there. That's actually, in my opinion, I feel that's pretty lucky. Like, if you execute a member of a squad, and and that squad gets into melee with something like Howling Banshees, that can be very, very dangerous. Could actually just straight up lose the squad. But I did talk about how I feel the Chimera is a good choice given the triple guardsman build. Will give Handsome Sodding his back a lot of field presence up here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start dominating this top part of the map, which he's really going to need to, given that the victory points are pretty significantly in favor of the red team at the moment. Over a 200-point victory point lead, 486 to 260. Here is the approach. We're really seeing this Lord General getting kitted out. Kaze, or Kaze, definitely theming his army based around that Lord General, going very heavy on the upgrades. Unfortunately, actually losing a squad there. Did not quite pay attention. This also means, though, that he actually had to replace the grenade launcher, which is part of the reason why you don't see that upgrade very much. A lot of Tier 1 weapon upgrades, sometimes you don't see them because later on, typically Tier 1 weapon upgrades don't scale as well. They are typically statistically just worse than a lot of Tier 2 weapon upgrades, and especially Tier 3 weapon upgrades. So, unfortunately, artillery spotters are pinned. tanked so much fire trying to get the disruption on the Guardian weapon team, but that did result in the loss of the squad. Here is the teleporter relay beacon, since that Chimera looks like it has been deployed, retreating straight to it, but one of these squads of guardsmen is actually in quite a bit of trouble. And here's a Wraithguard squad as well. This is going to be trouble. Like, he obviously needs to tie it up. There is also the Commissar flare, very much expected. Decides to actually start moving the Chimera. He de-set it up, which makes sense given, Wraithguard are already pretty strong against Imperial Guard, but I think Handsome Sodding actually handled that really well. He tied up the units that he needed to, focused the units that he needed to, actually ends up chasing off the Wraithguard and keeping the Chimera. Down here, there is still the defendability from the Force Commander. Unfortunately, we're seeing a creeping barrage, actually hitting nothing, but did cause a retreat. So Wraithguard on the bottom, though, going to be opening fire. Will they get disrupted? They do not. But they are going to get tied up by the Lord General. So Wraithguard on both sides of the map, not actually getting a huge amount of value. And it is also very interesting to see this Force Commander going for this tanky, immobile build. He really, even the Sacred Standard, he's not going for teleport, he's not looking to get in, he's actually playing the Force Commander as a support hero more than anything else, which is a very interesting play style to see. So Sacred Standard, increasing the damage of his allied units by 25%. Now, the plasma guns, I don't know about that. That I do not agree with. What is that for? The damage upgrade of getting that 30.88 plasma DPS after you scale it down to hitting against the infantry armor of the guardsmen is incredibly not worth it. Although I think it would have a bigger effect against commanders, but I still feel that's incredibly not worth it to get 3 plasma guns, when at some point, especially now, I feel like he's going to want at least 1 missile launcher. He's got the Lascannon Devastator. So, meanwhile up top, Commissar, we're seeing some upgrades on him, though, with the Carapace armor, as well as Stubbornness. Decides he's going to need to just get out of there, so he's actually having a lot of trouble holding this top again, this direct head-to-head against the Eldar, against the Guardian weapon team. So now he has a Manticore to really dislodge that Guardian weapon team. Guardian weapon team, especially if it's not being healed up, could potentially be wiped with a good Manticore strike. There was a use of the Inspire Courage, but it's standing right in the path. Oh dear, that's not good. There is the Manticore strike. Gonna be on the Wraithguard instead. Wraithguard taking a lot of damage. Chimera down, called by ... probably against Kaze. Here is the Autarch call-in. Autarch call-in. I mean, this needs to give back the blue team their natural victory point, because they are losing massively in terms of victory points. 161 to 410. Triple cap against them, ticking down real slow. Handsome Sodding has even lost his Commissar. He's actually getting pummeled in this top lane. I thought at some point he would start coming back here, but he is getting pummeled. What is he going to do? I mean, given how much time there is left, given the fact that we have a dead Commissar, I think this is really going to need to be some assistance from someone from the bottom. It's kind of rough, though, because, you know, ... kind of has this immobile army. He's actually having trouble keeping it all healed up.
They may have us here, sir.
This is looking rough, but we are going to see the Autarch try to buy the team some time with the decap. I don't think he's going to go for the full cap. Yeah, couldn't go for the full cap given the possibility of the Autarch actually dying. Autarch really staying in here a little too long. Rangers too far forward. Don't know what they were going for. Looks almost like a miscue of trying to go for getting a decap when they had already gotten the decap. Warp Throw comes in, but no follow-up. Warp Throw is a nice ability if you've got some follow-up, but there was not really significant follow-up there. And instead, we're going to see the Warlock go down here. He even gets knocked back while in retreat. And he does go down. That is rough. Things are still not going well for this red team. We're even going to see flares go down. But that flare instead came from the artillery spotter squad. Tactical Marines trying to reinforce out in the field. Looks like they were trying to reinforce from the Falcon, maybe. Grenade goes in, deters the approach by the Bloodletters, and that's just going to be another retreat from the Dire Avengers. They really can't let this victory point be capped against them. Maybe they can afford a decap, given that the blue team is going to get top. Ogryns are being built. And Ogryns, I mean, I think that might be the best thing that Handsome Sodding can get. Would be good against the Wraith Guard, but can they get through the Howling Banshees and the Guardian Weapon team? There is the Manticore Strike. Unfortunately, that means Manticore Strike is now on cooldown, and it wasn't used to disrupt the Guardian Weapon team. We're going to see Wraith Guard come out of infiltration using the support of those Rangers, but they still don't manage to dislodge the Guardian Weapon team. So the Guardian Weapon team is still here. The approach is too linear, and he doesn't use his tools and his cooldowns to actually unseat this Guardian Weapon team, and it's just going to be another retreat for Handsome Sodding his back. That is rough. Although he was pushing forward, we're going to need to see the blue team not let this cap happen, because they really just can't let the red team get much more in terms of victory points. That's going to be a warp throw off the point. So I'm liking that use of warp throw, just to get them off the point, especially given the stage of the game that they're in. So, I mean, in spite of the fact that he had the Champion's Robe, now he is using an ability that is competing with the Warp Throw or the Psychic Shield, those two abilities competing with each other. And the Warlock going to activate the Psychic Shield, but then just decide to retreat. Looks like it is going to be a cap in favor of the red team on their natural, but here is a back cap by the Autarch on the red team's natural. Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines pushing in far. I almost wonder if their micro has been dropped, but meanwhile we've actually got a squad of Terminators from Dragonis already upgraded to Lightning Claws. Now this is also something I'm actually a little concerned. I actually feel like he bought something that, I mean, going right into Dot's build, I feel like he willingly chose a countered unit into that triple plasma tack squad, because now those triple plasma tacks are going to get some massive value, especially with the Force Commander, with that Sacred Standard. I feel like those Terminators are really going to get melted as long as Dot can keep on top of his micro, split the Tactical Marines, so that they're not all getting caught by the Terminators. Terminators going to teleport in. They've teleported in on some Wraith Guard. Wraith Guard have been upgraded with Wraithbone, but will they even get out of this fight? Alright, Wraith Guard will get out. Here's a Land Raider Redeemer. And we're also going to see, looks like Dragonis, he called to me that looks like he called Baneblade. This ain't a Baneblade. Havocs are set up, actually, and they did get a shot on the Falcon. Falcon, yeah, I was going to say, is it dead? It has the shield. It has the energy field, so it should activate that. Should be able to get out of here just fine, but I do think it wants to start moving back, even though it effectively has, like, quite a bit of hit points. 1 energy for every 3.5 damage taken. Man, that's actually a lot of health on that energy field. Actually, not quite that much. It's an extra 350 hit points, if my math is correct. Caster math. But still, he should get some repairs in for it. Oh no, the Terminators are in a bit of trouble, being chased down. I mean, right now, okay, teleport out of there, so they will get out. Here are some Plasma Guardsmen targeting the Force Commander. And this is quite a tough range blob from the Force Commander. Level 7 Force Commander, by the way, just farming all those Guardsman squads. Force Commander will get in. So he's actually really pushing forward there. He even just uses the frag launcher grenades on the Force Commander himself just as a show of strength. The Autarch's having quite a bit of an effect too. So the blue team's starting to really come back into this game. They can start to get a... Let's see if they can get a power bash right here. Meanwhile, the Warlock is going to retreat just straight to the Land Raider Redeemer, not the Baneblade. And that Warlock has gotten quite a few war gears. He does now he finally has the Immolator Blade. And he decided to switch out the Champion's Robe for Providence, which it makes sense in the sense that Champion's Robe would compete way too much with the Immolator Blade and the Warp Throw for energy. And it would be extremely difficult for him to get any value out of the Champion's Robe if he also decides to get value out of the other war gears. But I mean, both we've already seen some uses of the Warp Throw. Warp Throw is good against, well, really any race, and Immolator Blade particularly effective against Imperial Guard. Wraith Guard performing a solo mission. I don't know if they quite want that. Warp Throw, again, off the point. Well done. Buys more time. Immolator Blade as well. If anything, I think I would have liked to see that Immolator Blade against this other squad that was capping for even further victory point denial. Demolisher Cannon Shot going to go in, knocks down the Force Commander, but luckily he's so tanky that he doesn't even have to leave just yet. Just going to shrug it off and walk back. Here is the approach, and here's where things get crazy. We do have a Las Cannon Havoc. Sorry, Devastator, Las Cannon Devastator Marine Squad. Unfortunately being knocked down. Has not set up. Okay, setting up again so it can start taking some shots against the Baneblade, right? And I believe he also did... No, I thought he might have used For the Emperor on it. So many things going on right now. Autarch coming back in. Going to be tying up the Las Cannon Havoc, and this time I mean it. Las Cannon Havoc not getting much value. Might even go down. Is this going to be one more swing from the Autarch? And it does do it. So there is that Las Cannon Havoc down. It's going to be a big loss. So much going on down here, even though I know there's something going on top too, but how can I miss the competing action of the Baneblade versus the rest of the Space Marine and Eldar army? Baneblade now, though, is actually in a huge amount of trouble. The support is gone. It's out of the Devastator firing arc. Going to take maybe a volley from the Wraith Guard. Baneblade in trouble, but I don't think it will die. We're also seeing a Vanquisher Leman Russ. Does make sense against that Land Raider Redeemer. And let's take a look at what's going on up here. Ogryn's coming in, upgrading to their Bonehead Leader. And I was going to say, I was wondering if Handsome Sodding switched to the Bionic Eye, because that would actually be a very big answer to all of that suppression that he had to deal with and that he was having so much trouble with at the start of the game. So blue team about to, they're not getting the cap, unfortunately, unnecessarily losing VPs. Car about the Baneblade. Every player in Tier 3 except for Handsome Sodding is back, just with all the struggles that he had to deal with in this top lane, having to buy different war gears, getting that Bionic Eye. You know, I mentioned actually in a previous cast just that synergy between the Commissar and the Bionic Eye Ogryns. Is he going to use it? I don't think he is. Oh no, actually it was used, and unfortunately he killed the... Oh no, I was going to say he killed the Bonehead Leader, but that wasn't true. He actually just killed the... he just killed one of the models. They will have to retreat, though. There is a Warp Throw on the Dire Avengers. Commissar in a little too far, getting really close to the Eldar Webway Assembly. Pushing in so far now. This should be a full generator bash. They can do it. They just need to target the generators. So luckily, Handsome Sodding realizes this, but it looks like Aetherion wants to start maybe moving out to support someone else. Again, if they can get the full generator bash if they want. I guess there's just the question at this point in the game, like how much is this really worth it, where you will get all of that red. Retreat by Handsome Sodding. And in Handsome Sodding's case, if he can get to Tier 3, he is going to be in Rocket Run territory. And we're only ... is the other person who can use a nuke. And victory points, it's now actually starting to be close to being evened out, even though blue team is still in the double digits and red team has actually had a lead for this entire game, but it's definitely a lot closer than it was when it was like 400 something to the 100s. Here is the Warlock. He does have Providence active. Does need to be careful though for when that deactivates. Alright, so it looks like Providence has worn off. He is taking damage. Here's going to be another Warp Throw. But I think the Warlock, yeah, he needs to go here. He might even go down and retreat from the Terminators. So much damage, and he does, in fact. Yeah, that was just a little too ambitious by the Warlock. And although I was praising the Immolator Blade, when you're that far in, I don't feel that you're going to achieve that much with the Warlock with that build. If he did have the Witchblade of Kurnos, which I don't actually recommend, but if you're in that far, that's really something that can actually let you get a lot of value from being in that far. Ultimately, though, I feel it was just not a good choice for him to be in so deep. And this is now double Lightning Claw Terminators from Dragonis. And he's not against the Plasma attacks, but there are still Plasma Guardsmen here. And the Ogrins feel like they're in a bit of trouble, except for the fact that Inspired Determination has been used on them. And they are going to start going to town. One model does get knocked down. I think Inspired Determination has worn off, and they're mainly worried about these Lightning Claw Terminators. Guardsmen need to split up so that they can start kiting the Lightning Claw Terminators because they are the best counter against the Lightning Claw Terminators. There we go. They're going to open fire, and Lightning Claw Terminators now in a bit of trouble. Close to one model going down, probably. They will teleport out of there. One model does not completely teleport out. So victory points now getting really close with both teams in the double digits. Does actually switch to the Witchblade of Kurnos. Ooh, and the Warlock goes down again. You know, I did say, like, yeah, the Witchblade of Kurnos, you can get some value going in with that, but not so much against the Chaos Terminators, because the whole thing with the Witchblade of Kurnos is that you want to actually knock something down. You also want to use it more on squisher squads. Meanwhile, Seer Council came in here and immediately had almost no value, getting focused down so hard. Is that a rocket run? Can that finish? It does not finish off. That was so close. It looks like, I mean, the best thing that rocket run could have done was finish off the Seer Council just so soon after they had been bought. Meanwhile, still a lot of other squads so low in hit points. And this is the blue team pushing the red team back into their base. Down here, this is the attempt to keep the red team in the game because it's getting to be crunch time. For those of you who watch the Overwatch League. And they don't have it yet. Here is the Eldritch Storm, though. Reactions are not quick. No, just kidding. Not the Eldritch Storm. That's the Singularity. I thought it was going to be the Eldritch Storm. Those things are so similar, I swear. But the retreat from those guardsmen is actually a big problem. Doesn't have repairs for these two vehicles. Luckily, they did have enough time. So there is the decap, but man, that's only going to buy some time, not a whole lot, and the Lord General has to pay for it. I mean, at least if he really wants, he could buy the Lord General back immediately. Manticore Strike goes in. Unfortunately, a rather wasted Manticore Strike. Manticore Strike could do well. That's not a real sentence. The Manticore Strike could do well against the Baneblade if there was some way to snare the Baneblade with, say, a las cannon. Then the Manticore could get a lot of value. So Handsome Sodding at the moment looks like he's going to have to concede the top victory point for a little bit because I don't know why, actually. Why does he have to concede it? He is conceding it for the moment. That will put the red team back in the game for a little bit. But we also see this move by the blue team, getting the cap. We're probably even going to see a Force Commander. I was going to say, are you going to activate Defend here? Yes, he is, just to secure the cap. He is immune to knockback. Or no, is he? I'm supposed to be resistant to suppression. All right, he gets the decap. Decides he can't get the full cap. Range Terminators, meanwhile, this must be from ... Who else could it possibly be from? I'm just surprised he has that room in his army. So here's another Warp Throw, and here's the Witchblade of Kurnos as well. So actually not bad. Using that, I was going to say, is he actually going to start comboing that, oh my, this is the death of the Baneblade. I didn't realize just how far it was in here, and it's not moving back. It's being repaired by the bunker, but it's not enough. And Kaze calling GG 47-15, counting down. Blue team pulling it back despite the massive victory point deficit that they had early on. Although it doesn't look like it's quite over yet. Avatar of Cain is going to go down. I barely even acknowledged the Avatar's existence before he finally fell. And there is the double cap for the blue team that will close out the game. So blue team really managing to turn this around despite such an early deficit. And we're just going to see victory points tick down as this game comes to an end. Very nice game on a nice new map that I had never played on before, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.